What's up, everybody? It's Sid and Millie back with another episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will be chatting about the Formula One Zandvoort Grand Prix this weekend.
Yeah.
It was the last Netherlands Grand Prix on the schedule, I believe. So,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts overall of the weekend, Millie?
So Dutch Grand Prix weekend,
Dutch Grand
down
Prix.
out on the beach of Zandvoort, out on the North Sea. A place that we hold very near and dear to our heart. We spent a good bit of time in Zandvoort, and so have spent time, biking along the boardwalk, and then going out to the national park that's near there. So,
Yes.
we redeem Zandvoort really highly. We love the place. So pretty cool seeing F1 there. And of course, as we know, it is going to be the last time that F1 is hosted in the Netherlands. Maybe not in the Netherlands, but at least it will be the last time in Zandvoort.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a track that people miss, to be fair.
Okay, valid.
It's probably one of the lesser interesting tracks on the circuit, I would say. So
Is that just because there's less like passing space?
yeah, I mean, there
Okay,
was literally only one place to pass on the whole
got it.
track. So,
Oh, fun.
so it was a little bit of a less interesting race in terms of that dynamic, in terms of passing on track,
Mm-hmm.
and was more up to the strategy and the pit stops and how those things were working out. So I mean, yeah, it was fine, but yeah, I think the track itself in Zandvoort, it's super unique. You've got the sand dunes, you've got the hills, so
Yeah,
it's very like a old school kind of like classic racetrack.
cool.
So sad to see it go, but I think it does make sense in the grand scheme of things. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a sprint race weekend, so
yeah, it was
super,
also a
super
sprint
busy
race.
weekend with Formula One this weekend.
Yeah, it was, and I think that was necessary. I think the summer break, it was a long break. There was nothing
Facts.
going on in the break. We know that it's necessary to get a little vacation
Of
in this season,
course, for
so
everybody.
glad that they had that. But yeah, it was a long break, so I'm glad that it was an action packed weekend with sprint race, with race, all of this
Yes.
stuff. So
Yeah, I feel like it was cool also to give the Zandvoort track a little nod for its last use in the Formula
hmm
One.
yeah,
So yeah, pretty cool that they did that as well.
yeah,
Just kind of action packing the weekend, like you said.
yeah.
So what were your thoughts on like the sprint race, or if you want to do like
Yeah,
versus the
yeah.
race
No, I
overall,
mean, I
or
think the sprint race was fine. I mean, again, the racetrack doesn't really allow for too much action, too many moments where people are passing or doing. There were a few cheeky passes in some places on the track, but I think most of the passes that we were seeing were right down the main street, going into turn one, which was fine. There were a few of them, but I think for the most part everyone basically was right about where they qualified, so it
mm-hmm.
wasn't anything super dramatic or anything like that with the sprint race. I would say of the sprint races we've had so far this season in F1, this was probably the most stagnant one that we've
Yeah.
seen. Whereas the other ones have been very feisty and been a little bit of a fight, in those
Yeah.
shorter races. This one was kind of just everyone really was just playing it safe and just trying to finish the sprint race and get through it. And that was kind of the vibe I got from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess like getting into a little bit of Lewis Hamilton, a little bit of
hmm
Ferrari, because
Yeah.
Lewis is our favorite driver. I know that you had
Yeah.
mentioned to me they brought 5 upgrades to this race this
Allegedly.
weekend after the
Allegedly.
break. So
Allegedly.
yeah.
Allegedly.
What were your thoughts on like the car performance for Lewis?
I mean, in the sprint race, garbage. I mean, I don't
Yikes.
know how
Yeah.
else to describe it. I honestly don't know what the upgrades were. I don't see upgrades when I see the Ferrari, right? We
Mm-hmm.
see when McLaren, they finally got their upgrades, they started getting things figured out. And now look at Lando Norris. He puts on a masterclass race today and is now in pole position.
Yep.
Ferrari have brought maybe 20 upgrades throughout the season so far, and we're yet to see that sort of dominance on the racetrack
Facts.
from a Ferrari vehicle. So clearly it's they're doing little tweaks, little things, but are those things truly moving the needle? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think so. And I think based on, I mean, again, Charles finished second in the sprint race, so I guess kudos to him qualifying well. Again, the
Yeah.
race didn't really allow for a lot of passing or action, so it was again pretty stagnant. So maybe some upgrades have worked for him. Obviously, in the sprint race, Lewis didn't get those. I think the sprint qualifying also kind of it didn't go ideally. I think, obviously only having only the one practice session, you're very limited in your time and exposure to the track and the tire compound. So so I feel like that's kind of what we saw with the sprint race. Wasn't really too exciting. So yeah, I guess that was that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Lewis got a point, so that's good. But
Because where did he finish in the sprint race?
In seventh.
Seventh. Okay.
But yeah, I just feel like in terms of seeing a dynamic step forward in his vehicle due to the upgrades that have been brought to a weekend, we have not seen that yet.
Okay.
We've not seen like a clear step forward from the Ferrari. We're still just like, they're in the mix.
Yeah.
They're in the mix, but again, you expect those 6 teams to be in the mix. So it's like, is being in the mix really good enough when that's the case? So that's kind of my thoughts on the sprint.
Yeah. No, fair enough. It was kind of boring a little bit, just like one of those where it's not really a lot going on throughout the race because there aren't really places for them to pass as much.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And then I guess like moving forward into the weekend and like the actual full race, the qualifying leading up to it, did you have any different thoughts going into the race itself versus the sprint, or was it kind of just the similar?
I think Lewis qualified in basically the same spot. It was just like the same thing. Like, it's just like, we know we have a talented driver, but he's not being given the tools to do so. And so I think with the qualifying, the session was just okay, right? Like, still the Mercedes dominance, still seeing even McLaren now stepping forward, and proving a little bit of their dominance. And of course, you have Max Verstappen in a Red Bull. So I feel like with those elements, Ferrari really hasn't necessarily taken a huge step forward, because both Lewis and Charles, I think they started like 4th or 5th or 5th or 6th on the grid. So again, it's not like these upgrades that are coming to the car are putting them to the front of the pack, and so again, we got to ask, is it worth doing 5 upgrades here, 5 upgrades here, or should it just be in a package, one really good upgrade, or, a few really good upgrades, save all the little nooks and carbon fiber changes for another date, and maybe focus on some of the issues that Lewis specifically is mentioning with the vehicle. Because again, we've seen already the steps that Ferrari have made from last season, and a lot of that came from Lewis's input in the development of this car. So clearly trusting Lewis is the way to go, because that's how they've developed a car that is in the mix but not quite there. So again, now it's time for the driver feedback to get them that next step of performance. So so that was kind of my feelings about Ferrari kind of going into like the race itself.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I think it's hard to see the upgrades that they're allegedly bringing to the race weekend, when there's not as much of a difference in performance.
Exactly.
And like you said, they have developed the car so much with Lewis's influence. Like, even Charles Leclerc went and got all of Lewis's upgrades after he saw. I figured we would. After he saw how Lewis was performing with his upgrades, immediately wanted those same upgrades for his car. So it just does go to show how much Lewis is able to not only influence better results, but also influence a better car.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well said, 100%. And and so I think now kind of just getting into the race.
Yeah, the race itself.
I guess first lap, obviously Max Verstappen, like final home race in his home Grand Prix in the Netherlands, in Zandvoort. It was kind of sad to see him go out like that. As much as Max is such a wild card, because he is such an aggressive racer and because he gets away with so much in terms of the FIA calls, it definitely makes for a very interesting dynamic having that wild card in races, right? Because you never know what he's going to do. You never know where he's going to end up in the mix. So I feel like, the race today kind of missed that a little bit. It missed a little bit of that unpredictability that comes with Max's involvement. But again, like, the track was a little bit damp because of some rain that had passed through the area. Of course, it's the beaches of Zandvoort. The weather there is insane. If you haven't been, it is pretty crazy out there.
Yes, it is crazy out there. So wet track,
a little bit damp. So He was just, yeah, he caught that inside line. It was a little bit wet, lost traction, boom, into the wall. And
Yeah,
honestly, the crash looked terrible. So
it
I'm
did.
really glad that Max was okay, because that
Yeah,
was my first concern.
of course. Yeah, because the crash did look
It
kind
looked
of like
so bad.
he hit the wall pretty hard and then like
Heavy.
spun out. And it took them, I mean, all of the cars right after the crash, basically, what did they do? Like,
They went to the pit.
yeah, they all went into the pit and then they closed the pit lane. They were like, yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's going out there.
Right. Yeah, it did take a while. It took a good like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes to get the
tells
track
you how bad the crash
cleared
was.
off. Yeah. And it wasn't like in a good position of the track either in terms of like the accessibility for like the stewards to get to it. So yeah, there were a lot of those variables that were playing into it, which made it like a very prolonged stoppage. I mean, you saw the guys getting out of their cars and, you know, and looking at the screens and the data and everything.
Getting interviewed.
Yeah, so it was definitely an interesting like 30 minutes literally right after the race had started. But yeah, just super unlucky. Glad that no one else really got caught up in the fray. It was only a one-person accident, so that was good.
That was at least good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, super sad that was the way it went out.
I know.
For Max. Yeah. But otherwise, I guess like really for me, the resounding thing, the theme that you're seeing online right now, and that I'll just go ahead and reiterate. Charles Leclerc is a terrible teammate. He does not care about the success of Ferrari. He does not want Ferrari to potentially win a championship. He does not care about the success of the overall team. Charles Leclerc is there for one person and one person only, and his name is Charles Leclerc. He is a selfish, entitled crybaby prick, and that's the only way I can describe him. He literally, at the start of the race, almost runs Lewis into the wall off the get-go. You know what I mean? Lewis has to swerve to get out of the way of Charles Leclerc, and then Lewis literally almost went into Max Verstappen. Like, it literally all starts with Charles being an entitled prick for no reason.
Yeah.
God-awful teammate. At the end of the race, Lewis is pushing, trying to catch Russell. He had one lap of opportunity to catch Russell because of the virtual safety car. What does Charles do? Tries to weasel his way past Lewis, forcing Lewis into a defensive action, losing him the opportunity to attack George Russell for a podium position.
Yeah.
Earlier in the race, Lewis Hamilton has fresher tires, much more pace, has asked the team, tell Charles, get out of the way, I'm faster. Charles holds him up for 3 laps, losing him over 6 seconds in race time, which also would have put Lewis Hamilton on the podium. Again, all coming down to Charles Leclerc's being a selfish prick who does not care about the team. Charles Leclerc single-handedly cost Ferrari a podium position today. It could have been Lewis Hamilton on the podium, but because it wasn't Charles decided to sacrifice the entire team's ability of getting on the podium. So the selfishness, terrible teammate, and it's super ironic because these are the things that Charles Leclerc was accusing Carlos Sainz of in the past. But now it looks like Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc were a match made in heaven as teammates, because Charles Leclerc is everything that he accused Carlos Sainz of being in the past. He thinks the team in the world, in the sport, revolves around him, and it's just so misguided. It is so misguided. And the fact he doesn't have the awareness and the objectiveness to look at the bigger picture for Ferrari, the fact they haven't won a championship in decades and are trying to do so, and you are still sabotaging your own team in order to put yourself up. And honestly, Fred in Ferrari's pit wall is partially responsible as well, because they did not give Charles the order immediately to get him out of the way, to let a faster Lewis go through. So that also comes down to Fred on the pit wall and the race engineers on Charles' side not having the team's goal in mind. So for Ferrari, do you want to win a championship, or do you want to change your name to Leclerc? That is the question for you, because he's been with the club now for a decade, just under a decade. And you guys have won 0 titles with Charles Leclerc as your driver. And he only has 9 wins as a driver. And on the flip side, you have the most decorated F1 driver in your sports history in your cockpit, and you are sabotaging his race to prop up the guy with 9 wins in his career. It is blasphemous.
I agree.
Fred, are you serious? You've known Lewis since when he was at McLaren, bro, and you're sabotaging Lewis's race for this entitled guy with 9 wins, who almost ran the GOAT world champion with 7 titles, should be 8 titles, off the road in the race. And you guys are still coddling him like the child he is.
I know.
It is baffling to me, and it is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Like, Ferrari, it just isn't good enough. Every single year, we are seeing the reasons why they are not a championship team. This is the reason, because of their inability to look at which driver is ahead in the driver in the driver's standings, and give them priority. It is so stupid.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the leadership from the pit wall, and it's just not good enough. And I can understand why Lewis was so frustrated during the race, because they are quite literally sabotaging him. Imagine being in the cockpit, driving at 200 freaking miles per hour, and your engineers in your team are quite literally undermining your race, undermining your opportunity to get your podium.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed off too. I don't think Lewis has experienced his own team outright working against him to prevent him from achieving a podium.
Yeah.
With Mercedes in the past, there's always some level of understanding with Bono in the past, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the last year with Mercedes, but every other year under that. So it's probably baffling to him to see his own team literally work against him when he's fighting for a podium to be able to compete in the Drivers' Championship this year. And it is just, oh man, baffling. I'm so disappointed in Fred. I really, really thought Fred was better than that. The fact they haven't reined Charles in, and Charles, the fact that he has no inkling of a team player, Lewis, F him. Like, that is the only thing I can say. Charles Leclerc is not your teammate. That is the only message I hope Lewis Hamilton can receive. This guy is not your teammate. He does not care about Ferrari. So you will have to lift the Ferrari championship your own. And on the track, just pass him. Just dust him. Even if you have to force him off the track, do it. He's done it to you. So it's now time for Lewis to stick his elbows out and remind Charles Leclerc who the 7-time world champion is. 7 with an asterisk because it should be 8. Who the 8-time world champion is, and who the guy with 9 race wins is, right? I think it's time Lewis just forces him off the track, and not in a dirty way that causes a crash, but in a way that shows him, hey, I'm faster, and I don't care if the team prioritizes you. I'm a better racer than you. That's what I want to see. And that is what I think we're going to see. The tone shift from Lewis today was a recognition. It was a recognition that Ferrari is not working with him. And I also agree with that. This Ferrari strategy is abysmal. Again, you got to question the people on the pit wall. I love Fred's personality. He's fun to watch in Drive to Survive on Netflix, but he is not doing a good job with this Ferrari team. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. There's too many of these mistakes, too many of this garbage with Charles thinking he's bigger than the team and bigger than Ferrari itself. Again, Charles Leclerc is not included in Ferrari. I don't know what the confusion is. I think because he's been there for so long, he's convinced that his name is also somewhere snuck in next to Ferrari. To my knowledge, it was Scadio Ferrari, right? With the HP as the logo. I'm a bit confused where the Charles Leclerc part is fitting into the Ferrari, but it's not there. It's not there. And he has to realize it's not just about him. He clearly has no clue that he's never won a championship, so he doesn't know what it takes to win a championship. So the fact that Ferrari would give that driver priority and let him act like this spoiled brat when he's never won anything to stand on, it just mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing to me. Compromising a podium position so that your crybaby doesn't throw a fit.
Yeah, I mean, pretty embarrassing for Ferrari. Genuinely,
it 100% is pinned down on Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, and then the enablers that are letting him get away with it, and it's just not good enough. It has to be better from Ferrari. And again, like my thing is to Lewis, just do it yourself. Obviously, it's not a team, right? Charles is not on your team. Your cars are the same color, but he don't see it that way, because the only person on the track that Charles Leclerc has smoke for is his teammate Lewis Hamilton. It's the only person he has smoke for. Other people zip by him. Other people never wants to pass him. Other people, it's straight. He has no complaints. As soon as it's Lewis Hamilton, Charles has an issue. Charles, do you not like black people? All right. Anyway, we'll get into more of that. But anyway, it all comes down to Charles Leclerc. As soon as this spoiled brat, entitled baby garbage ends and he starts realizing that there's a badge on the front of the jersey. Same thing we talk about with Man United.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be playing for the badge on the front, not for the name on the back. Hopefully Charles Leclerc will have that recognition soon enough. And if he does so, maybe Ferrari could do something.
Yeah.
But again, this lackadaisical leadership from the pit wall gives Mercedes a 2-3, which pushes Mercedes further ahead in the Drivers' Championship, in the Constructors. So,
Yeah.
you know, the chances of a title will continue. This is the 12th race of the season. They will continue to slip away if Ferrari continues with these mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, your car isn't good enough to be making these sorts of pit wall mistakes with Ferrari. That's the reality of the situation.
No.
The car isn't good enough. Mercedes will run away with it. So
yeah,
anyway,
genuinely. I mean, Mercedes has been the dominant team throughout the whole season.
The whole season. And now Lando Norris pulled one out today. He looks like he's feeling comfortable now with the upgrades that have been done to his car.
Yep.
So now he could potentially be in the mix. And again, like that's great to see. That's really cool to see. It was great seeing Lando race today.
Yeah.
He was really on it. He definitely was. It was a masterclass for
Nice.
sure. But again, it was a race that was there. There was opportunity there for Ferrari, and it was squandered because of one person's selfishness by the name of Charles Leclerc. So yeah,
Quite
literally costing Ferrari points. I mean, it's just, I mean, that's the only way to describe it. It's clear as day. The footage is there. You see him flinch towards Lewis at the beginning of the lap. Like, you see the moments at the end. We saw it before the break when the pit wall told Charles about Lewis's penalty before they told Lewis about the penalty. It is undermining his success. I hate to see it. I'm sorry, Fred. You're killing me, buddy. It won't be long before I'm calling for your head. I'm on the verge for it. But yeah, I think, you know, with a couple of yeah.
What did Lewis get a penalty for?
In the last race.
Oh, in the last race.
Yeah,
yeah. Like,
I'm saying, but like, yeah, he got the
like,
penalty for speeding in the pit lane or whatever it was, and basically instead of telling Lewis, hey, you need to push the pace, you just got a penalty, the team instead called Charles and told him, Lewis has a penalty, try and catch him.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Literally, what are you doing? What are you doing?
That's just crazy.
Absolutely insane, blasphemous. And again, this is the team Ferrari who was the originator of this sport, and now they are literally looking like I don't even know, chickens running around out there. That's how the leadership is being led. And you've got you've got the GOAT of your sport at your team trying to get you guys to that title, and you are
I know.
Oh man,
suppressing all of his talent.
It's just, when you really think about it, it's actually insane.
Yeah.
Because if they were going to be winning things with Charles, they would have been doing it for the last 9 years.
And we know that's not happening.
So
9 races in 9 years. That's pretty crazy.
9 wins, yeah. And
well,
again, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. But yeah, no, not even a sniff at a title, right? So it's just like, what does Ferrari prioritize? What is more important, winning the title or keeping Charles happy? I guess Fred will have to decide.
Yeah, true.
But again, Fred, this is so many mistakes. It's so many races now, so many points lost because you cannot figure it out on the pit wall.
Facts.
And again, the buck's got to stop somewhere. So it stops with Fred. I'm sorry. There's no reason Charles should be disobeying a direct team order of get out of the way of your faster teammate. The fact that Charles even feels entitled enough to deny a direct team order from the pit wall says a lot about the issues within that team.
That's true.
So
a lot of that, like, insubordination from him.
So I think other than that whole Charles saga and the terrible leadership from Ferrari costing Lewis a podium position, I guess at the end of the day he did get 4th place. He finished thankfully ahead of his teammate, the brat, who tried to sabotage him and did sabotage him throughout the race. So at least Lewis was able to keep his head in front of his teammate. But again, Lewis is going to be massively disappointed that he didn't get to that podium step because he 100% had the pace on George, and would have taken George out for sure had he had more time, and maybe without that virtual safety car intervention, and definitely without his own team Ferrari's intervention, Lewis would have had that podium. So yeah, that's just the reality of it. I think otherwise, Carlos Sainz again today proving he was being just like Charles. Same thing, ran his teammate off the track, crashed into his teammate. So again, like I said, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, you guys were meant for each other. Maybe a team will scoop you guys both in and put you guys together, and you guys can play bumper cars with each other and compete against just each other, because you guys clearly don't care about winning races or anything else going on in the realm. But yeah, same thing. That was like a little bit of drama that also happened. I'm sure Alex Albon was livid because, you know, it's always BS when your teammate is, you know, your number one enemy when you're supposed to be working ridiculous. Together. George Russell might have felt a little bit of that as well. The team order came for him to let Kimi Antonelli go past because Kimi was going faster. And in true team fashion, a team with true leadership and true understanding and true trust, George, even though he wasn't happy about it, got out of the way and listened to let his teammate pass, because that's what racers are expected to do when they get a direct order from the team wall. So we saw George Russell do that properly as a true F1 racer and allow his teammate to go through. Kimi was much faster. George wanted a little bit of the, you know, in the past they called it the DRS train, but essentially like the slipstream where, you know, Kimi essentially slows down for George so George could stay in that 1 second window and get the extra power, so they could go ahead, because George's point was, you know, he's not going to catch Lando anyway. What's the point of running off into the distance and leaving me abandoned? So George probably felt a little bit of that as well, because he followed the team orders, moved out of the way, and then was kind of left hanging out to dry for Lewis to attack him. Lewis was attacking. So George was probably feeling a little bit of hurt like that. So I guess there was a lot of teammate battles all over the course, and a lot of these teammates, you know, just really not really giving a shit about their teammate. And again, I know everybody is racing out there, but at the end of the day, you're a part of a team. I don't know, like, is that not obvious?
I know, it's like they get in their own individual cars and forget that they have a teammate out there.
Right, yeah. And it's just like, again, if Charles Leclerc had as much smoke for anybody else on the racetrack as he does for his teammate, he would be a good racer. Like, he would actually be in these battles with Norris, Piastri, and George Russell, and potentially even Antonelli. That's who he could be in the mix with. That's who Lewis wants to be in the mix with. But instead, Charles is so focused on his teammate that he can't even see that these other racers are going past him and beating him. Every single week in, week out, beating you, week in, week out, beating you. And you're just so focused on stopping Lewis that you're not even driving your own.
I know.
It's just infuriating, honestly. That guy, he's lost all my respect. Like, you know, last season, you know, whatever, was all bought in on the, you know, Ferrari train. Start of this season, you could already see the signs of it. The signs of the jealousy and the snakiness. And now it's just full-fledged. And now I'm just, now it's getting hard to even throw support behind Ferrari. Now I'm just falling back into my typical, I'm just a Lewis Hamilton fan, you know what I'm saying? Because that's typically where I've fallen in the past when he's had battles with teammates and stuff. You know, you always just choose the GOAT side. So, so I feel like I'm kind of falling into that. I'm just going to be Team Lewis Hamilton. Hope to God Ferrari can give him a car that's usable. We know it's unlikely, but at the end of the day, if the GOAT's given somewhat of a decent machine, he's going to put it in the top 5 to 10 for sure. So,
of course. He is. Absolutely.
But overall, I think the race itself, there wasn't too much going on. There was a lot of pit stops and strategy and a lot of covers off and all of that sort of stuff. But let's be really real, guys. Like, we all saw the race. There wasn't a lot of passing. There wasn't a lot of that action. There wasn't a lot of those heated, tense moments. They came around sometimes, but for the most part, it was, you know, just passes at going into turn one. So again, we can kind of understand the reasoning behind the Zandvoort race falling off the calendar. Especially, again, if you've been there, if you've been out to the beach, you know that the infrastructure getting from Central Station in Amsterdam out to Zandvoort, the beach, there's only, you know, 2 train lines really that go. And then from, you know, the train station, you basically would have to walk over to the racetrack. So there isn't as much of those sorts of easy access infrastructure to get from, say Central Station to Zandvoort out to the racetrack for the race. So again, you can kind of understand why in the modern era, with a lot of people trying to attend these races, why it would be difficult for, a track that's in such a small town to continue to maintain such a big event.
Facts. Yeah, no, that's very true. It is definitely not built for something like that.
No.
So yeah, unfortunate.
I'm
but
sure the locals are pretty excited about that. They're probably
sure.
keep Zandvoort with this somehow,
No, actually, they probably don't love it. It's a lot, I'm sure.
I just can't even.
They already
imagine.
Get a big summer crowd. I bet.
So, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure
adding the F1.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so I mean, Formula One's back. I think that's really the main thing. I'm glad the summer break is over. We didn't really see any ridiculous calls with the FIA. I will say, they there was an incident with the driving erratically with Oscar Piastri. I just think it's ironic how quickly they were able to check and clear that in an instant. But when there's an incident with Lewis, they want to review it for 15 minutes before making the call. It's just, again, super ironic. I also saw the move that Piastri did, almost flinched at Lewis, which if Lewis would have reacted, would have put Lewis into the wall. That is driving erratically. I don't know. We live in the United States. I literally just got off driving off the highway. When you see people swerving into your lane, that is driving erratically. I'm not sure why the commentator was so offended for Piastri because they use the word erratic when describing the sort of infringement that it was. But again, if you actually drive on the roads, people swerving into your lane randomly at high speeds is erratic driving. Yes. So not sure how they just breezed by that one and let it go, but pretty typical. We saw it even in earlier sessions when Max Verstappen had impeded Lewis Hamilton during one of the qualifying sessions. They literally they said, "Oh, Max, oh, it's okay."
I know.
But again, if roles were reversed and Lewis had impeded Max, I'm sure we would have seen something for Lewis.
It would have been a whole thing.
Yeah, it's just kind of typical. You just learn to expect that type of shit with the FIA. They're super biased against Lewis. So again, Lewis has to be on his P's and Q's every single weekend. He can't put a toe out of place, can't put a shoe out of place, and now can't even trust his team for a proper strategy or to prioritize him if he's racing for podium. So it's really just Lewis against the world. So, again, I hope he knows that he has the backing of all of his supporters, us included. Team LH, Team 44, we're going to be backing Lewis Hamilton, the GOAT, for the entire season, even if his own team won't do so, and even if he has to fight his own teammate in order to get the results. So, that's kind of all I got.
Yeah,
honestly, just that was really all. So, those were our thoughts. Do you have anything?
No,
any closing?
Good.
No, you're good. All right. Well, those were our thoughts on this weekend's Dutch Grand Prix. That was. I'm tired. I was just driving.
I know.
Those were our thoughts on the Dutch Grand Prix out in Zandvoort in the Netherlands, one of our cities we've been to. So we really appreciate it.
Yes.
And sad to see it go from the F1 circuitry, I guess you could say. But overall, it wasn't the most entertaining race with passes and such, so you can kind of understand why it's falling off the calendar. But yeah, anyway, Dutch Grand Prix, it's all wrapped up and F1 is back from summer break, so let's go. Mazda is up next.
Oh, wow.
Mazda.
Okay.
Did I say
Italy?
Mazda?
Yeah, you did. I was like, are they in the F1? Anyway, so if you made it this far,
thanks for watching,
and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.
I need a nap.